feel like we've been waiting for this for a long time. It's not an easy feat to make the playoffs. It's just, I think there's 11 that will repeat. It's only a third of the league. So it's a tough grind, but we had confidence in our team, and all 16 teams are saying that, and rightfully so. But there is a feeling it's just different in the playoffs. Coming to the rink is exciting. Guys are getting prepped. Got a little bit of a break here between the last game and the first game, so a bit of a downtime too. We're not wired today to start a game. We'll build that over the next 5.
Over the next 5? What are you guys starting Wednesday?
Well, we count today.
Okay, all right. So I was going to ask.
Never look till tomorrow, George. You don't know if it's for any man.
I don't know. I can't count it.
Okay.
How are you feeling? How are you guys feeling health-wise? I know you guys didn't do anything on ice today, but I saw AJ Greer out there. Is he okay? How's Matthew doing? What are you expecting come tomorrow?
So there isn't anybody that I would say that I know is not ready for game 1. That there's an injury there that's week to week. We had some guys just overuse injuries. I think in the last 2 weeks we had some guys, minor groins, things like that. And we'll hold them out of practice tomorrow unless they're right there. We're not going to run them hard early in this to set anybody back. But everybody is possible from game 1.
Coach, looking back last year, obviously there was such a kind of air of unfinished business driving the group after what happened the year before. What do you think is maybe the main driver of this year's team? Excitement,
right? There's, it is that energy level, the emotional juice of it, we had to fight for this year. And that's true of every team that wins, right? It's a harder mental grind, and then you wake up after it's over and it's back, right? It's just everybody's wired, and now that energy that you were kind of trying to find, the external energy, right? The importance of the game, the energy that comes from being in a playoff building, it's coming, and you can feel it.
2 things, if I may. First, you've spoken many, many times in your 3 years about Sergei and his preparation and how he understands what's required of him, and he has his ways, and it works for him. How much comfort does that give you, knowing that he's the best possible person to get himself ready, I guess, to defend this thing?
It's just, it's not something that we have to spend any time contemplating. So it's a box checked. He's going to do everything he needs. He has a great understanding of the need of his own prep. And it's not a guy, he's at the opposite end of the spectrum of a guy who just puts the gear on and goes plays. Because you're always worried about those guys. He's got his program, and he and Rob Tallis have just this incredible relationship, and they steer each other. I think that's probably the best kind of coaching relationship. The coach learns from the player about the player, and then they work together. So he's out there. He wants to put the skates on. He has a certain rhythm that he likes to stay in, and so the rest of us don't think about it.
Second thing, there's probably and this is not a fishing for when Matthew will play question, but there's probably some perception out there that the Benny, Marchie, Chucky line is going to look like the Hanson brothers, and off the ice, Benny commits money to adopting animals, and Marchand only talks about his kids, and Chucky only talks about his family. There's 3 really good guys off the ice. The perception may not be that, but they are. How will those personalities click, do you think? The fact that they are like-minded in a lot of ways.
Very, very intense people. And I understand that outside perception because I shared it about Matthew Tkachuk when he was in Calgary. I didn't like him at all. And then you see them move around people, and they are just incredible men in the locker room and in the community. I think there was an assumption made when you make a trade that, hey, that would be a great line. We should start that, like outside. So I wouldn't, I'm not sure the 3 of them are playing together at the start, but to be on the same team. They're wonderful veteran people that all have a great respect of the game, but the people in it, right? One of the most impactful things, I've told this story before, was at the height of your anger, frustration, depression, getting off the airplane after Game 6, that's a 5.5-hour flight. It's also the last flight of the year for our team. I'm waiting, the players, getting them off the plane to try to get them dressed. And every guy stopped and thanked the flight attendants for the year. They had the awareness of the people and the care that they took for their players. And every one of them stopped and thanked them. And that's, I think, what the big driver of the special people here. And your leadership will always be the ones that take care of that and drive it. Those three men are wonderful to the support staff, trainers, coaches, everybody, flight attendants, all the people that help move our team and don't get on the camera. They're just fantastic to watch. They make you a better person just watching them.
You mentioned the other day that you ask everybody to do the same 5 things
Yeah.
Is that a secret sauce, or can you share some of that?
No, I mean, if you can watch our game, I think the 5 things would be the identity of our game without being technical, right? And I guess the base idea of it is, you can't ask the player, the 12th forward, to play like Barkov, right? But you can have a common denominator where Barkov is held accountable to the same standard on certain things at the fourth line. So clearly, a lot of this stuff is without the puck, kind of an idea, and that's what makes all the men equal in our room. There's a bunch of things. Most of them are hard. You got to do them. If you don't do them, the coach has to hold you accountable, regardless of who you are. But we've agreed on them. We've had some success with them. So there's not a lot of. There's nobody fighting you on them. We just, over the course of the year, you'll have to 3 or 4 times go back in and say, okay, what is it that we do here? What's the thing that we hold most dear? We got to get back to it because we're off it.
One other thing, you've said many times, and we've seen the switch goes on in the playoffs, game changes. Is it just physicality from your perspective?
No, it is an emotional level that you can't get to in the regular season. You just cannot play playoff hockey for 82s. There'd be nothing left of these men, right? So the emotion then means everything is faster, every stride is harder. Yes, that leads to heavier, more frequent contact on the ice. Every check is finished. Every shot is blocked if it can be. All of the very, very hard things. And in some ways, there's some risk to that, to the player's health, right? They're all hard things. But in the playoffs, everybody's waiting, and that's both teams. The energy in the building, the potential for victory, what they're willing to do for that drives all of it. This is not a player character thing. The energy's not the same in the regular season. It can't be. The buildings aren't the same. The fans they can't be playoff ready, right? So every fans get all jacked up. Everybody's got the face paint on. We all got our routines and our superstitions, and it focuses down to that shift by shift in a 60-minute game. So you get the highest quality of intensity in playoffs.
Paul, just you kind of touched on it earlier, but how much do you guys? How are you able to flip the switch when the playoffs starts? Is it outside motivation? Is it stuff you work up to? Obviously, you guys were able to kind of rest and take it easy a little bit coming into the playoffs. How do you flip the switch when you start?
So I would view it differently. No, this is a great analogy. Like, our players played as hard as they could with the gas that they had this year. They weren't like in relation to the rest of the league. I mean, we almost had 100 points. I think we'll probably end up 4 to 6 points behind Tampa, not far off Toronto. And then you just get way better fuel, right? You go from, I don't know, what's worse than leaded, and then you're getting, high octane stuff. And you can't get the high. Now, there'll be spikes during the year where something will happen where, and for me, that was the Toronto, Carolina, after we'd lost 6 or 7. We were that would be a block of almost as close to playoff hockey in our room. But you know what? You go and you'll play a game, and I do follow what the other team says about the game. It's interesting then to see how they view it. And we get a lot. Well, that was our playoff game, and you're kind of on the bus going, not really. because it's going to get way harder and way faster. So it's not a switch flip. That's a dangerous idea. Because we're not going to play quite as hard for 82, and then we're really going to go. That never ever works. It doesn't. So we are constantly talking about doing the hard things in the regular season. You just know that if you're in the grinder, you just don't have the legs. A better example might be that we lost both games to New Jersey in November this year, coming from Finland, and both those games were tied 2-2 at the 10-minute mark of the second period, but we were just a little behind it. Just couldn't quite get there and lost those games. That was an honest game. It was a reasonably well-played game by us. It's with the juice that we had, the gas that we had in that game, we gave what we could.
To use the same metaphor, do you have to fuel the players up with that? Do they do they have to do it themselves? Have they learned over the course of the last couple of years how to do that?
You're going to get all the gas that you need, but you got to be mindful there's some curves in this road. And if you put the pedal to the floor, you're going off the cliff. 22 hits in period one of the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago. That's not sustainable. So you got to keep the car under control too. I'm not worried about gas or running out of it, right? You're worried about being mindful. There's curves in this road too, and foot to the floor doesn't always work either. You're in the box all night, or you're running around trying to kill people.
And sort of in a similar vein, that just the experience that the core of this group does have with this. You guys are going on, I think, about 300 games over the last 3 years for a bulk. Just how much does the experience help them with, again, knowing when to push on the gas, when to figure everything out, and them being able to spread it out to the rest of the group going, okay, we're at this point, this helped us last year, yada, yada, yada. Just how much does experience, knowing what the long grind takes, help with knowing what you need to do when you get into this time of year?
That's a good one. So there's a value to it in shared memory, the experience that they've had together. We lost in the first game in the Boston series, got down 2-1 in the Ranger series, lost a 3-game lead in the Edmonton series. So you've been there before, but the reaction to it, the experience doesn't guarantee you anything. It just makes the collective, when you go in and relate the situation you're in to one, and over the last 2 years, half your team understands it. So they all kind of nod and go, okay. But that doesn't make the next shift better, right? It gives you maybe just a more clearly defined roadmap. But again, you got to get on the road, put the pedal down, but watch the curves. When's the next F1 here? Because we're really we got a theme going. All right, let's keep it rolling, so to speak.
Paul, it doesn't seem to matter whether it's a preseason game, regular season game, or playoffs past. When these two teams play, it just brings out the best in both of you. But is there, from the Panthers' perspective, a deep-seated dislike for this team?
I think there's a really healthy respect. Both teams have some really good speed, really good skill, and they're both veteran teams, which means they want it. They're going to play. Both teams know how hard it is to have success in the playoffs. They both had success. I think there was I'll go back. The two Boston series, to me, were the heaviest series I've ever seen in my life. The first one almost surprised me how hard it was for 7, and last year's was just mean and nasty. There was some dislike, to put it mildly. I don't necessarily feel this is going to be hard. It's going to be intense, but I think there's more respect than a. Neither team, so if we combine the two teams and say the style of game is predicated on the combination of two teams, it is not as physical a series as the Boston series would be. When you combine Boston and Florida, that's ugly, right? This will be a more speed-based series.
I mean, looking at what Tampa did this offseason, they made a bold move and didn't re-sign their captain, replaced him with a guy like Jake Gensel, and they really haven't missed a beat since making those moves. I mean, how impressive is it for a team to kind of recover after losing its captain? And I mean, how does that change the outlook of the series a little bit?
I think the more possibly, and certainly bring in an elite scorer like Edsel and Stamkos would do the same things, but I think bringing McDonough back on the blue line put their structure back in place. It goes back with Chernak. They can run 7 or they can run 6. They know how they adjusted back to the form from years earlier. Some of it structurally as well, systematically, they changed back to their game. I think that was the thing that made them look more like their team in the past.
Coach, you talk about hoping everyone's ready, the expectation for game one. With that, what do these next couple days look like for Matthew Tkachuk as you try to get him ready for that game and ramp things up?
He went after it pretty good today. He won't skate tomorrow. He'll skate on off days going into the decision day, which will be after Monday's skate.
Coach, a lot of times when we get to the playoffs, top lines almost cancel each other out, right? Because
Yeah.
both teams are so skilled. I'm wondering how significant you feel a Lundell, a Luostarinen. I know you've really liked the way the fourth
Yeah.
line has played. Just the importance of the depth on this team and how it could factor into this series.
It's the key piece. I thought that the most improvement that our team would make this year is that Anton Lundell would get a year older. We had, I think it was the Buffalo game, we had talked about what your team looks like when it has really important people playing or out of your lineup. That you have to take this game. We had a bunch of guys out, I think 7 or 8, and we can't say when this will never happen. And we get our team back and we're fine. And then we went back to the game 3 of the Stanley Cup final against Vegas. And on that third line was Ryan Lomberg and a 21-year-old Anton Lundell and Sam Reinhart. But that was our 3-hole line. So we feel, he doesn't turn 24 till the end of the year. So we think that that's the area of almost depth where our team can improve, or where our team had the opportunity this year to grow. So now when Luostarinen and Lundell, and over the years, Reinhart, Tarasenko, possibly Marchand, but that's a better line now. And if the other team's best is against them, we have an expectation of those two guys that they're going to be able to play at that level. I wouldn't necessarily run it all night, but I would too on the road. I would allow that matchup now. That's how much faith we have in that line.